Hi, I'm Jason Hill.
And I'm James Blackburn.
And I'm Danny Lenski.
Yeah, the ventriloquist act really worked well.
I'm so glad we rehearsed that.
Yeah, crash and burn.
And this is No Joke Survival.
Preparations for the average family.
And today's episode, we're going to be talking about bugging out.
Bugging out.
Not the insects, not the same thing.
No. And why that's so important. And, you know, a lot of people have different visions of what bugging out is and running to the hills and things like that. But for our purposes, what this is being prepared in case something happens, natural disaster or crisis. And some examples would be like a fire, you know, and recently in Colorado, they had some real bad wildfires where, you know, they may be in one area, but then the winds change and then quickly they're evacuating people. And someone shows up at your house, law enforcement, and they're like, get out right now.
Yeah.
And you don't have the time to even think about what you're going to grab. And so having a bag that has some essential items in it, personal items, information, is critical because you may literally have just that one bag to grab and you might lose your home and everything else.
Well, and it's really very much a good idea, I guess you could say, to have that, because when the tornado had hit my house back in '95, we had always planned it, you know, we prepared for it and whatnot, but the irony is that the time that we had the least amount of preparation time was the time that the tornado hit our house. And so we actually, unfortunately, got kind of caught with our pants down, dun dun. And so we ended up having to play catch up afterwards. I mean, we had water stored, you know, in a very good place and in our house, so it made it through. So we had water, but we ended up having to get out of the house, what was left of it, ASAP. So we didn't even have clothes, you know, with us because all of our clothes were upstairs in our bedrooms or gone out of the garage that we had them stored in. So.
Right. And Jason, I've seen your bug out bag, and if I ever have an emergency, I'm going to grab yours.
What's that?
Because you are prepared. Now, I have one too. It has my basics, first aid and different things, water filter, stuff like that you may need, obviously, in an emergency situation. But I'm really impressed by yours because I've seen it, and you could use yours to go out in the mountains and survive if you had to.
Oh, shucks.
Well, that's okay.
And I actually have different levels. So I have like a smaller one that I carry in my vehicle at all times with some basic survival stuff, a little bit of food, water, way to start fire, filter water. I'm kind of about repetition, having multiples, so that if I'm out at the grocery store and an earthquake hits and the roads are blocked for me to get home to my main bug out bag, I at least have a smaller bug out bag in my vehicle and I have something.
To hold you over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I keep the similar thing in my truck too, because obviously where we live, there's a lot of big spaces between towns, and if you're going off the beaten path like we do, well, your vehicle could get stuck, and you got that emergency bag with you. You could stay the night comfortably and signal for help or whatever you need. So.
Yep.
Well, and if you're thinking that you're invincible and you end up going out in weather that you might not be expecting, and all of a sudden you end up getting caught in a snowstorm or something, it's so much better to have just a little something there versus thinking, oh, well, I'm going to either stay in my car and freeze or try and make a little snow igloo or something, versus having just some blankets. I always have during the winter time, I always have a little bag of kitty litter and a shovel in my trunk.
Yep, that's common.
So.
Yep. Very good idea, and especially obviously it weights down the rear of the car, but also gives you that traction you need if you need to get out of the snow. Other reasons for a bug out bag: resources could be used up. You know, you could have an emergency in your area, like we did here 7 years ago when we got that massive snowstorm. And in 4 days of being cut off from the world, I saw the grocery stores empty.
Yep.
So it was good to have a backup already ready to go.
Yeah, you run out of resources, you may need to go to a friend or a family member's place and hang out with them, and you want to be able to grab your important stuff and go.
Well, and the stores might be empty because of social unrest as well, just something bigger, political that might be going on, as right now you know, government shutdown, can't go to parks or anything. But you know,
It's a bummer. But you know, when we come back, we're going to discuss in depth. We're going to go through the bug out bag and show you the actual items that you should have in there.
come back and see.